Now back in the mid 2000s until around the early 2010s, console exclusive features were actually pretty common in WWE games due to the change of going from releasing different WWE games for different consoles to releasing the same game for every console possible. As some consoles were weaker than others, they had to lose out on some features, but due to those weaker versions missing out on features, they were given some exclusive features to make up for that. Now it's not the case for every entry in this list, but it will be for the vast majority. Also, I did this video a few years ago, but I missed out a ton of things and had none of my own footage for many of the features. So this version will be the most definitive version and includes a bunch of features that I've never shown on the channel before. So quickly before I get into the video, make sure you sub with all notifications turned on, and don't forget to like the video if you do end up enjoying it. Now let's get to the first exclusive feature in this video. SmackDown vs Raw 2006 was the first game in the SmackDown vs Raw series to be released on another platform along with the PS2 version, as it was also released on the PSP. And due to such limitations like no commentary during matches, there were exclusive mini games added to only the PSP version of the game, and the first one was WWE Poker, which is by far the best minigame of the three that you get. It's literally just poker, but it's pretty fun that you can choose the NPC characters that are not allowed to be picked outside of this minigame, like GMs and announcers. Like I said, we pretty much peaked at the WWE Poker minigame, as next up we have Eugene's Airplane Race, which is just some weird game where you have to avoid objects on the floor like weapons to try and make Eugene not fall over. Yeah, let's just move on. And the last of the three exclusive minigames was the WWE Quiz, which is decent-ish, I guess. Some questions are fun, and then some are just over the top stupid, like asking what arena is this, whilst you can clearly see the arena's name on the stage. Also, it has some weird timer mechanic where it actually spoils the answer after 5 seconds, so you'll never get the question wrong unless you're actually trying to. Yeah, it's okay I guess, but we definitely peaked at that poker game. Continuing on with PSP exclusives, SmackDown vs Raw 2007 would continue the idea by giving the players of SVR 07 on PSP Road to WrestleMania mode. No, not that one. This was actually a strange name for what was literally just a tournament mode. It works exactly the same as the tournament mode in the next game, SVR 08, that many of you might remember as it was added to the 360 and PS3 versions. The options for tournaments in this Road to WrestleMania mode included a SmackDown vs Raw tournament, a King of the Ring tournament, a Money in the Bank tournament, and a Road to WrestleMania tournament. Now that might have been the end of exclusive modes for PSP, but it was far from the final exclusives for handheld WWE games, as the 3DS version of WWE All-Stars actually contained 2 exclusive match types within that version. The first match type was a classic gauntlet match, where you have to beat a continuous amount of superstars entering one by one until there are none left. And the other match type that you will exclusively find in the 3DS version of All Stars is the Score Scramble match. In this match, you'll have 3 minutes to get the most moves and attacks done to score a higher amount of points than your opponent. Whoever has the most points when the timer ends will win the match. Continuing on with exclusive match types, you would have to go all the way back to the last DS WWE game, SmackDown vs Raw 2010, which until 2K24 was the only way you could ever play an ambulance match in a WWE game. It works pretty much exactly the same as 2K24, minus the ambulance driving away and into the crowd for some reason. It didn't just stop at exclusive match types either. There was also an exclusive career mode that could only be played on the DS version of SmackDown vs Raw 2010, which played more like the classic careers of the past rather than the Road to WrestleMania mode at the time. You create your character and you go through an entirely original story with choices to be made, and you can even free roam different parts of the in-game world like gyms, hospitals, and the GM's office. Next up is the ultimate console exclusive features WWE game, that being SmackDown vs Raw 2009 on the Wii. This version of the game just went completely crazy on the exclusive features, one of them being Breakouts, which we would eventually see return in 2K16. But this version of Breakouts is way better than the one that got re-added and the one we still have to this very day. You could show respect to the opponent with a handshake, you could celebrate in the corner, celebrate with the ref, beat him up if you want to, or do one of the unique post-match attacks, like a coast-to-coast with a chair. Another exclusive you can find is within the cage match, as it allows you to make more of a destructive exit of the cage through the door. Instead of the usual crawling mechanic in the SVI games, you have to keep kicking the door until it opens, and once the door does open, you can just walk right out of the cage door to win the match. This type of exiting the cage door would not be seen again in WWE games until WWE 2K19. One of the things that we loved about SVR09 on the Wii was the interactivity, which is why the exclusive interactive entrances in the game were so awesome. You could pick how you'd like to make your entrance, want some pyro to go off, press the button and it will. Or you could just be all angry and tear up some fan signs as you make your way into the ring. The choice was all yours in these interactive entrances. The next few entries will be about weapons, because SVR09 on the Wii just went crazy with exclusive weapons features that could only be found in this game, like how there were extended limits on the amount of weapons you could have in the ring at one time. On the other versions of SVR09, you were limited to just 4 weapons at one time, but in this version, you could have every weapon possible in the ring. There were no limits. Want over 10 weapons in the ring? You could do it. And speaking of weapons limits, there were no limits when it came to getting weapons in the ring during Hell in a Cell matches. For some reason, this was not possible in other versions of SVR09, but the Wii said, screw that, have a bunch of weapons within the Hell in a Cell match. And of course, I can't go without mentioning the exclusive weapons within the game. Now, the fire extinguisher might not seem that important, but the thumbtacks that can be found in the game sure were. The thumbtacks could be found in a bag under the stairs, and once poured in the ring, you could slam an opponent in them, or be the one getting slammed into them. It's crazy that of the 2 WWE games that have thumbtacks, one of them was exclusively in a Wii game. Next up, we'd have to jump over to the last time that we would see a console exclusive feature within a WWE game, and that would be found in the last gen version of WWE 2K15. There was an exclusive mode called Who Got NXT, or Who Got Next, which would play similar to a showcase mode about the NXT superstars who are in WWE 2K15. Completing these would also unlock an exclusive to last gen only NXT Arrival Arena, so you can kind of add that one too. Also, after completing the mode, you would unlock a bonus mode that you of course could only find in this version of 2K15, Proving Ground, which plays like the street mode from 2K14, only this time it's John Cena. So as one of the NXT rookies, you have to dethrone Super Cena to prove that you got what it takes on the main roster. Moving over now to the SVR era of WWE games, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 was a unique case of exclusivity, as literally every version of the game had something exclusive to that version. The PS3 had the unique feature where you could change the entrance camera to be in first person mode, which seems to be a very forgotten feature of SVR 08. It is pretty interesting to see entrances like Randy Orton's or the Sandman's in this first person perspective. Moving over to the Wii's exclusive SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 feature, the Wii owners definitely got the weaker exclusive of them all, that being the KO match, which you can kind of already do in the other versions of SVR 08, but this works more like a fighting game where you have a health bar, and the first to drain the other's health bar fully will win by KO. And for the Xbox 360, I think they got the best deal of the exclusive features out of the main 3, as they got the much wanted custom soundtrack feature, which allowed them to use any of the songs that they had stored on their Xbox 360. So if someone had the wrong music or old music, you can just replace it with your own custom music. A great feature that the PS3 missed out on for just a year, as PS3 owners would get it next year in SVR 09. And speaking of SVR 09 on the PS3, this was the only WWE game ever to have exclusive console DLC, as the PS3 DLC came with the addition of the SVR 08 attires for MVP, Edge and Rey Mysterio, along with Mask Kane and Christmas themed outfits for Maria and Kelly Kelly. And with that Mask Kane being the hardly ever used 2001 version, I can imagine many other SVR 09 players being pretty jealous of those who had that Kane. Now, if you enjoyed this look back, and let's say we get 1,000 likes on this video, I will look into console exclusive characters in a future video. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you all on the next video.